Text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Out to go, 11 o'clock, and this is Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. On the front page of the Sunday Times, yet another Labour donation scandal. The party and 3 of its MPs accepted more than £40,000 of election campaign donations from a convicted criminal the party expelled as a member 3 years ago. And the Express are leading on the 466 people arrested. That's right, 466 people arrested in London at Palestine Action protests today. And of course, anti-migrant rallies have erupted across the country. The Sunday Express reports that riot police are now on alert with more demonstrations planned in the future. The Mirror are saying foreign criminals will be sent packing by Labour. They are, of course, doubling down on evicting foreign criminals from the country. On the front page of the Sunday Mirror, Labour claims to be cracking down on crime as they vow to deport thousands of foreign criminals to free up that critical jail space. And they might need it with 466 people arrested today, might they? And...
very merry birthday to me. To me. Oh, you. A very merry birthday to you.
Oh, me?
Yes, you.
Oh, me.
Let's all congratulate us with another cup of tea. A very merry
No, that is not the inside scene of Keir Starmer's latest cabinet meeting, but it has been revealed by The Sun that Rachel Reeves has enjoyed a break at a caravan park for £49, where she's enjoyed a Mad Hatter's tea party. There are just too many jokes to be made on that one, aren't there? And of course, joining me this evening, former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards, journalist Linda Jubilee, and GB News superstar and favourite comedian Leo Kirst. And this guy has gone viral. He's set to earn 6 figures. Stay tuned to find out why.
Getting on. Drop here.
What is that haircut, hey? If I paid for that haircut, I would be immediately getting it all shaved off and a refund. All right, let's go through your headlines for the papers tomorrow. The Sunday Times. Frantic Europe pushing for fresh plan on Ukraine. Of course, that's coming as Trump and Putin have met in a meeting in Alaska to talk about the future of a peace deal there. OK, Sunday Express. Riot police are on alert as more protests are planned. This is very reminiscent of last year with that summer of discontent, isn't it? More to come, I suspect. The Observer, the sound of silence. They are, of course, leading on those 466 people arrested at the Palestine Action Rally today. The Sunday Mirror. Of course, they're saying exclusive here, foreign criminals to be sent home to free up jail space. I suspect, listen, we have to support the Labour government when they do something good and listen to the public. This is a common sense thing. It should have been done a long time ago, but there we go. We'll talk a bit more about that. The Mail on Sunday, top Tory fears for daughter over boat migrants. That's Robert Jenrick saying he fears for his children's future in an area where illegal migrants are living near him. The Sun on Sunday are leading on Liam's lift. Star flies in his rape-charged brother to Oasis show. The Daily Star. Top brass call on female soldiers to join the SAS, leading with Sue Dares wins. I like that one. The Sunday Telegraph, of course, also leading on hundreds held in the Palestine Action protest. Right, let's bring back my panel, Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards and Leo Kearse. Leo, where do we start with all of this?
Well, the foreign criminals being sent home. When I saw this headline, it says foreign criminals to be sent home to free jail space. I read it in a hurry and I thought foreign criminals to be sent to space. And I thought, that's something Elon Musk helping out with this one.
Would the public mind that, though? I don't know if they would.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, hasn't outer space suffered enough?
Certainly offshore.
Space suffered enough. Too many rockets.
But this is one of these things where Keir Starmer and the Labour Party just, make some sort of sound bite that sounds good, gets the front page. Like Keir Starmer saying, we're going to stop the boats. Has he stopped the boats? No, there have been more boats than ever this year. So this is just, there'll be so many loopholes in this. We've seen before, judges always say that asylum seekers who commit crimes or whatever can't be sent home because they're allergic to spiders or the kid doesn't like chicken nuggets or they can't get the right haircut. There are so many loopholes and we've got such a soft judiciary. I think the first thing, when reform get in, they've got to look at absolutely, gutting the judiciary and getting some judges in that actually know what they're doing.
I think if they win the election, they've got a lot to do, haven't they?
Yeah.
Really, they're going to have probably more on their hands than anyone else have had before. But Paul, of course, foreign criminals be sent home to free up jail space, not to go to space, perhaps. But we welcome news, at least that Labour are listening, perhaps. But I think Leo's got a point. I mean, we've heard the one in, one out deal. We've seen that flaunted, but actually, it's still not really changed the tune, has it, with migrants flooding over here on record levels?
Wasn't it a Superman movie where they sort of put them into this cube and sent them out into outer space, I think? And then maybe that's where the idea has come from.
Space prison. Never escaping from that.
This is where the best ideas start, I mean, let's be clear.
Said it here first on GBNews, right?
To the serious point, though, unlike the point you were making about one in, one out and so on, this actually is a prospective change to the law. So what the Cabinet Minister is suggesting is that the law will change to allow this to happen. So let's not poo-poo it, straight off the bat. It actually has a chance of working because it will go through Parliament and become a bit of legislation which allows it to happen, which I think we can all welcome. So let's get behind it, let's make it work.
Linda, if that is the case, it kind of reminds me of the fact that the Tories have left the Labour Party and the Labour government now, all these weapons like the online, what I call the online censorship bill, the online safety bill, so I'd leave all these weapons for the next government to just fly in and do all the things they promised to do, perhaps.
Well, clearly that hasn't been happening.
Well, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, actually. But I think should we applaud at least the fact that they're coming out with a strong stance on this?
I think this isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think that what I do think is it's going to be quite hard to change the law of the land, and it could take quite a long time to implement this. But the concept of it, the plan to do it, is perfectly OK.
But why is it hard though? Why is it hard though, Linda? Because the Labour Party.
No, I didn't say it was hard. I said,
no,
I think it it'll take a long time to do because things do process takes time. It's very, very hard to do things quickly.
No, I think you're right. We can't even build a train carriageway in this country.
We can put legislation through in weeks if we want to. And Shabana Mahmood, by the way, was identified in an article by Lord Faulkner, I think yesterday, as one of the stars of the government, people who actually get things done. And this is another example of her... he was being very critical, actually, but he was saying there are two or three that sort of seem to know what they're doing, and she was one of them, and maybe this is a good example.
This is a bit of a side... well, actually, do you know what? We'll come to this Freddie Mercury story, because this is quite interesting. Linda's got some juicy stuff to talk to us about. But maybe before we go on to that, Europe is frantically pushing for a fresh plan for Ukraine, Leo, because President Trump is... I think just ignoring them and cracking on with a peace deal with Putin in Alaska, it seems. Yeah, I mean, Britain and Europe really sort of dropped the ball over the last few decades. We allowed America, and it was America's idea to, carry the weight of being the global policeman. So we sort of gave up all our, let our militaries be winnowed away and, be reduced in size, trusting that America was always going to be there for us. And how did that work out? Then, we get Trump in, and he's like, no, you know what? You can pay your own way. And now we're frantically...
Right. I'm not surprised he said it, though. He was right.
Yeah, but it was America's idea in the first place. I mean, America wanted to be the global policeman.
They didn't get much pushback from us, though, did they?
No, I mean, obviously, we thought it was great to, have this big strong man looking after the playground,
bills, carrying our water.
Yeah, but how's it working out now? So yeah, I mean, Europe and Britain really don't have many chips to play in this, and I think also the mood amongst Ukrainians for a long time they were very staunchly supportive of Zelensky and the idea of not ceding any territory, even trying to take Crimea back, but realistically now, the ravages of war have worn them down. They're seeing their kids be taken away, and so now the support for the war in Ukraine is the support for a negotiated peace is increasing rather than
But wouldn't that be an absolute tragedy though if that involved Russian
gaining
territory in the Ukraine?
Well, that's what just to talk
about. I think Zelensky's hardened on the position that he will not give up territory. He's made that perfectly clear this week.
Putin's tactics are obvious here as well, aren't they? He'll play Trump like a violin. He'll do some sort of deal, and then have territory ceded to him as a result of that, and then he'll keep going.
But let's just talk about, because Linda, I just want to talk about this Zelensky's role in all of this, because realistically, if we're being really honest here, he doesn't really have many cards to play because all of his support comes from America. I mean, if America said, actually, if you don't want a peace deal, Zelensky, well, then, fund yourselves in the war. The war's over at that point, right? So what I'm saying is, honestly speaking, this deal is between Trump and Putin, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what has happened as well is that Trump has become aware that he's starting to look a little bit silly with Putin. Putin's got him on the run lately, last few weeks, and Trump's people have whispered in his ear, perhaps, he's starting to look a little bit silly in front of Putin, and I think that's one strand. But if you ask me, I think that the Ukrainians can go on for quite some time digging in their heels and holding on, and I think they will.
Right, well, I see, I'm not so sure about that. I think they will, if the Americans pull out, they will crumble very, very quickly, because Putin will just go on the assault. America can crush Russia anytime it wants, using oil, just as it did with the Soviet Union. I mean, Russia is still, as the Soviets were, as an economy dependent on oil exports. And you can see with the tariffs on India and any country that buys Russian oil that Trump has announced, he can, this is a real threat to Putin. And I think Putin is a lot more vulnerable than, people think, there's this, there's this Russian bear. There are so many people waiting in the wings to take control from Putin.
But also, this was an invasion they thought would be over in weeks. I mean, they've held that for 2 years against the Red Army. They've held them off, and it's a civilian army.
Yeah, I tell you what, Russia's been prepared to lose vast numbers of soldiers in the past, and they are clearly prepared to do exactly that again.
I think you're right.
I think the oligarchs will tear him down, though. I don't think they'll stand for their oil money going.
All right, let's move on from that story now. I think we've probably done that to death. Let's see what happens, though. I mean, it'll be very interesting, because I do think Trump is key to get a peace deal. I think he loves the idea of being seen as a peacemaker, as we just saw between Armenia, I think, and Azerbaijan. Forgive me if that's wrong, but he did. They're pushing him now for saying to get him a Nobel Peace Prize, and his face was like, I really want a Peace Prize. I would love to know about Peace Prize, but I've got to make it happen in Ukraine and Russia first. So I think that's where he'd... There you go. I'm here tomorrow night as well, if you want to tune off. Right, shall we move on, shall we? Let's have a look at this Freddie Mercury story, right? So I didn't think there was much to this, but Linda, Linda's an extremely well-connected person when it comes to the newspaper world, right? Linda, take this away for me. Go on. Because let's just read the headline, because it's Sunday Times here. It says, I'd be stunned if Freddie Mercury had a secret child as his former girlfriend, but there's more than meets the eye.
Well, I noticed this morning on Facebook, where one of my Facebook friends, and in fact a former colleague when I was very young on the Daily Mail, she was the showbiz writer, Leslie Ann Jones, and she's written the book, and it's supposed to be a real groundbreaking book. And in it, she makes this point that Freddie Mercury had a baby. And in it, the woman, known only as B, says, she didn't talk about it. I didn't want to share my dad with the whole world. After his death, I had to learn to live with the attacks against him, the misrepresentations of him, and the feeling that my dad now belonged to everyone. So clearly, this woman is saying she is Freddie Mercury's child. It's in the book, but the book's not out yet. I think it's out fairly soon. But Mary Austin, the long-term partner of Freddie Mercury, has taken an exception to this, and she said, well, I never heard about a baby, so maybe there wasn't a baby. So it'll be very interesting to read Leslie's book, because, after all, Freddie Mercury was, to my mind, a brilliant singer and musician. And a very charismatic and interesting man.
Yeah. This is a bit of a... Look, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but famously homosexual, perhaps?
Well, do you know what? A lot of
yes, but that wouldn't stop him fathering a child.
Yeah, when's that stopped any English man?
Perhaps an international superstar, maybe a big sex life, of course, but, famous for it.
You say famously. I don't think a lot of his fans in the 70s and 80s did think he was, and there was a lot of people surprised when he died. And then the clues were there. They were called Queen. And one of the most, one of the most famous videos was them all cross-dressing, if you remember.
Yeah.
And so the clues were there for all to see, with the leather and the moustache and all that, but it came as a shock to some.
These days it's just called drag in Soho, isn't it? Drag nights.
Absolutely, it's mandated by the BBC. It's not transgressive at all. But I've actually got a confession to make. I'm actually Freddie Mercury's long-lost son.
Oh, you're really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Killer Queen genes, I guess, there, eh?
You see the similarities.
All right, let's... This one also caught my eye. We'll go back to this one because, I hate the online safety, but I don't know if I've made my view clear on this, but I absolutely despise it in all its shape and form, because it's a complete abysmal slip into dictatorship if anyone decided to weaponise it. But Labour have now come out and said they are warning tech giants against heavy-handed censorship of lawful content. So not only will they fine these big tech companies if they get it wrong, and there's under 18, potentially under 18 stuff there, which we don't really know what it is because the Home Secretary is the one who can decide that. But they're also going to say if you're over cautious about that, protecting kids, by the way, you might get fined too, Leo.
It's ridiculous. I mean, make up your mind. There's 1,700 pages of this legislation that firms and even websites, anywhere that's got something that kind of user-submitted content, there's a hamster forum where people can discuss hamsters, not ex-hamsters, actual real pet hamsters, and it's had to take itself down because they can't afford lawyers to go through these 1,700 pages. It's ridiculous. And this whole thing is the first day. You normally see mission creep with legislation where it's brought in, like the RIPA powers were brought in. They're supposed to stop like terrorists and paedophiles. Within a year, they were being used to stop fly tippers. With this, the mission creep happened the same day. The same day it came out, it was being used to stop absolutely lawful content about grooming gangs, about child victims, and that's content that would keep children safe. So the government isn't using this to keep children safe. The government is using this to keep the government safe.
Meanwhile, the real problem, it's appeared to impact upon that at all.
Yeah.
That's the distressing thing about all of this. I see all of your points. I see why you're upset, Alex, but actually I get upset because I know perfectly well that this bill is not doing what it's supposed to do in order to protect children.
This is it, Paul, because, again, I said this on the show earlier, but when I interviewed Michelle Donnell, who wrote this bill, she didn't understand what a VPN was when I asked her it several times. She dodged the question. I'm like, this will take a child... a technical, which they all are these days. They're very advanced with technology. Take them 30 seconds to figure out how to download a VPN and install it on their mobile devices, Paul. That's the big problem with it all.
Yeah, but which is why, as a fan of the parliamentary process, we need experts helping draft the legislation.
Well, they said they did have experts, maybe they just didn't listen.
By the way, I mean, the civil service is supposed to do this as well. You know, these things are not just drafted by MPs; they are drafted by parliamentary draftsmen who are supposed to know how the world works.
Jonathan Reynolds seems to think VPNs are great because he's charged the taxpayer for it, hasn't he? He's charged the taxpayer for his own VPN. Only a few days before that, we found out that, obviously Peter Kyle was out comparing Nigel Farage to predators, say he's protecting predators like Jimmy Savile.
But we do need laws, don't we?
Well, listen, I want children to be safe, but I think it's got to be common sense.
Yeah, no, I don't think child pornography was legal before this came out. I mean, this is a nonsense. If anything, this is going to increase the use of technologies, Tor browsers, onion skinning, VPNs, whatever people are using to hide their identities online, to actually make it easier for paedophiles to operate. I think this is creating a larger dark web. I think this is dangerous.
I think you're right. Well, let's move on from that now because I'd like to go to the story on the front of the Sunday Times here. Students are choosing their home over digs. So almost a third of 18-year-old students applying to university now live at home while they do their degree, according to official figures. I think that is very interesting because part of the university experience, so to speak, and why a lot of kids go to uni, let's be honest, it's for the party.
Get away. But you know what? That's a kind of cultural thing in this country because my three kids got dual nationality. They're British and Australian. In Australia, they don't do it at all. They prefer always to go to the university in their hometown. Right. Because they think it gives them a better chance to get a good degree because they don't have the stress of household bills and trying to find somewhere out of halls of residence, etc., etc. So culturally, we have done that. And I can see the point in giving a child more independence, etc. But I think, frankly, it's just becoming too expensive for people.
It's nuts. I mean, you know what, Leo? I would love to be able to do this job right now from the spare bedroom at my mum's house, frankly. I'd save a fortune paying rent here in London. I'm absolutely broke at the end of the month. Common sense choice for students then, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I went to university, I think I got a grant the first year I went to. I got paid to go to university, and rents were so cheap in Scotland. I remember staying in Dummy Dykes in Edinburgh. My rent was £12.50 a week.
Yeah, that sounds very suspicious.
Well, it's right next to Holyrood, which makes it even more suspicious. Yeah, £12.50 a week. You couldn't get a latte for that in Edinburgh now.
That's so true.
So yeah, I mean, it's so expensive. But I also saw that so many of the students that are coming from overseas are using the sort of visa system, the student visa system, and then bringing their family members with them. So even when they move out and move into their own digs, they're still bringing their family with them.
Still parents are living at home. And technically, the students think, but actually, I've got mum and dad living. It's like the reverse, isn't it?
Did you go to Edinburgh?
No, I didn't. I went to Stirling, but then I moved down to Edinburgh.
Right, okay. Because a lot of Scottish universities have a very, very high proportion of international students. I think St Andrews now, it's they have more international students.
Well, Paul, that's lucky because I guess the Scottish people get it for free, right? It's only the international students that are paying.
The difference now is, though, when I went to university 40 years ago, 10% of my age group went to university and 9 out of 10 didn't go. Now it's 50%. So it's a totally different environment, which is why they're staying at home, because it's just more kids doing it and making their choice, isn't it?
But also,
that's the expense.
But also totally bonkers that we're trying to get 50% of young people to go to university. AI's going to take their job.
It's to get them all indoctrinated.
There you go. You think you might be right.
I mean, there's obviously not 50% of the population smart enough to actually go to university in the meaning that it had in the 60s.
I think you might be onto something there, Leah. All right, coming up, I'll tell you why fat people are costing the NHS tens of millions of pounds just to take them to the hospital. Well, that's the first time we've read that one out on national television before. This is Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Anything can happen with me, Alex Armstrong.
Exactly.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Now, the governing body of tennis, which is the Lawn Tennis Association, has been accused of effectively breaking the law.
Yes, that's after reports that they encouraged transgender people to participate in women's tournaments. Well, we're now joined by the former Olympic swimmer Sharon Davies to discuss this. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, just bring us up to date, because the LTA, I think in January, made what could have been seen as quite a positive decision to stop trans players, trans women, so biological men, from competing against women in the elite game. But tell us what's different about the amateur game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important that we do use the correct language, because they're not banning anyone. They're just stopping biological males from competing against biological females. It's really that simple. And what's very frustrating is that basically they're saying, if you're really good, we're going to give you fair and safe sport. If you're not quite so good, we're not going to give you fair and safe sport. I mean, what a ludicrous situation that we're actually in. And as you say, I mean, it's been 100 days now since the Supreme Court ruling. It made it absolutely clear that a women's event means that it's a women's event only if it has biological females in it. If it has any form of man in it, no matter how they got to call themselves, what they want to wear, then it's a mixed sex event. So, you know, they're encouraging local clubs, you know, to not actually follow the law, to not give fair sport to pathways, to recreational, to juniors. You know, these people now are just expected to have unfair sport. And how do we get the elites if we don't make sure that the way forward and the way through is fair? And this is not just tennis. You know, golf is bad too. We still have 30 sports in the UK that don't protect the female category, including things like taekwondo, would you believe, and gymnastics.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, a late edition with me, Alex Armstrong. Let's get more from the Sunday papers. The Sun on Sunday says ambulance bosses have been hit with bills totalling £27.5 million to transport increasing numbers of obese patients. Their budgets are being stretched further by the extra costs of specialist vehicles and equipment required. Well, of course, I'm still here with a fantastic panel, Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards and Leo Kearse. Leo, I mean, this is nuts. 27.5 mil.
Yeah, and it shows the problems facing this country. We only ever seem to hear about, you know, the problems of anorexia and bulimia and stuff. And I don't know, I think the problem is sort of tilted the other way.
Literally?
Yeah, absolutely. If you put them on a seesaw. But yeah, we've got a huge problem with obesity. And imagine being obese in the time of Ozempic. That's a real statement. Imagine how dedicated to being fat you've got to be to still be fat in 2025.
Do you know what? We shouldn't laugh really, but do you know what? It's almost 12 o'clock. I think we should have a laugh.
You can't sugarcoat the message.
Well,
delete it.
For God's sake. I was just looking at the front page of The Observer and just wondered how someone that obese would be able to be carried away by a Palestine action project. I think they're missing a trick there.
Oh, yeah.
Paul, listen, on a positive note, you're a man who's actually lost a substantial amount of weight in a very healthy, personal way.
I lost 10 stone over about a year without any jabs and without any tucks and not even seeing the doctor at all, actually, by changing my diet and going on lots of long walks.
Brilliant.
And just enjoying all the compliments.
How many miles have you done today?
I've done 10 miles today in the sunshine. Look at this tan.
Yeah, you've got lovely tan.
And what I'm concerned about, A, there is an obesity crisis in this country. B, I think just medicalising it by giving everyone injections and making them chemically reliant for the rest of their lives is a dangerous road to go down.
Yeah,
I mean, the pharmaceutical companies are obviously queuing up for this stuff. But I think if you just tell people, oh, don't worry, eat whatever you like, here's a jab, here's a quick fix, it's going to store up an awful lot of trouble. A, we don't know what the long-term effects are, you know, people's eyesight being affected and all sorts. And B, it means people don't change their behaviour, so they just carry on eating all that bad food.
Paul, we've got a picture of you here.
Heavens
wow.
Wow.
I mean, if you're watching at home, you never would have recognised him, would you?
I'm the fat bloke on the left.
Yeah, not the one on the right.
No, that's my party chairman, actually. So he's delighted to be all over the telly, I'm sure.
Made GBNews exclusive tonight, your party chairman.
But that is me, 23 stone, something like that.
Wow,
and,
Paul,
sore feet,
mate.
sore knees, couldn't walk as far as anywhere. Famously a taxi to the end of the road, takeaways coming through the door every minute of the day and heading for an early death.
Yeah, well, I think you're an inspiration to people who do want to lose weight and hopefully not be escorted by these new, having to be super supported ambulances,
they're so expensive, and the ambulance crews, I know because I did a lot of their media training, they will ask, when the emergency call comes in, do we need a reinforced ambulance to come out? So there's loads of them, they're very expensive. But obesity is costing the NHS so much money. You mentioned knees. So knee operations, which are complicated and expensive, all have to happen when people are overweight, and hip operations and diabetes. There's a whole raft of things.
Diabetes is where you have to have your toes amputated, where you get your feet taken off. You talk to pediatricians. That's one of the main operations, is lopping off feet.
Well, listen, I think that 27.5 million is hopefully a wake-up call to the health service, who actually need to... I mean, I kind of understand why they're trying to give out Ozempic jabs at some points, because if people aren't going to do it... I mean, Paul, what you've done is amazing.
So we know it's
They should use you in a campaign rather than pushing Ozempic, but there we go.
I agree, but, it's not the answer, I'm afraid.
I think you're right there. Well, moving on, in the Sunday Telegraph, new figures show benefits claims among the over 50s have hit a record high. Nearly 2 million people aged 50 to 64 are now out of work and claiming support, up to 43% more than before the pandemic. A report by the Centre for Social Justice blames a sick note culture and a system that defaults to full sickness absence. The think tank warns that the UK is losing vital skills and experience and says even a modest rise in older worker employment could generate billions, Linda.
Do you know, sooner or later, the number of working people in this country is going to go like that. And we're going to have a narrow band of people working.
Us in here.
That's right.
And we're not really working that hard, are we? We're just moaning about the news.
Yeah, but we're
not
earning
going to
money
keep the
and paying
productivity of the
tax.
country
That's
going.
the point.
Yeah.
So we've got this smaller and smaller band of people earning money and paying tax to support a bigger and bigger number of people, youngsters who aren't in full-time education or employment that meets. And now you've got over 50s claiming unemployment benefit because they're, too old to work? That's so ridiculous, I can hardly believe it.
Paul, the thing is, I can believe it, and I get messages from people all the time, and I feel desperately sorry for them. And a message, I won't name the person the other day, it was just a random person from the pub messaged me on a social media platform and said, Alex, I was off the back of another story I was doing, I am desperate to get a job in the UK. I cannot get a job. I can't even get a job pushing trolleys at Tesco's. And I also have looked at some of the skilled migrant visas we hand out, and I think some of the things on the list are absolutely ridiculous. And I know the government have just raised thresholds and those are going down, but we're not growing the economy either.
Well, it does
that's
come
the
to
real problem.
The magic word you said there is skills, though. You know, a lot of people in the 50s, and I include myself in this, are feeling kind of increasingly outstripped by technology and things that we don't really understand. And, AI is taking jobs all over the shop already, and it'll get only worse. So we have to reskill. We have to teach people skills of how to navigate this new world.
Totally
Otherwise, all the jobs will offshore and we'll all be sitting around on the dole.
Well, Leo, I mean, at some point you kind of say, can you blame them? Can you blame them? It doesn't even pay to work anymore, does it?
You can blame them, and we should blame them. And I hate that the government's always like, we need to tax the rich, tax the rich. It's like the rich are rich because they worked hard, they're successful, they create value for people. Look at Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, the richest guys in the world. Look at the empires they've created, the jobs they've created for people, the value they've created for people. What we need to start doing is taxing people. People are only going on the sick because they can get money for it. People are coming forward and getting diagnosed with all these, ADHD or, being scared of spiders, whatever it is, because they get money, they get to go in the sick with it. We need to start introducing a tax. If you introduced a tax on ADHD, on all these mental health conditions, if you introduced a tax on being fat, people would stop being fat. Instead of giving people money to be these things, instead of incentivizing them to be lazy and sick and fat and whatever else, tax them.
Yeah, fat tax.
Yeah, fat tax. Directly on them.
We kind of do it, though, with sugar and stuff, don't we?
No, we need to get it right in there. Go around, pull the rings off their fingers. If you can get the rings off their fingers, because they're probably overgrown with all the fat.
Oh, this show is going to get into so much trouble. Ben Leo, if you're watching, I'm sorry, mate. If it gets cancelled next weekend, you know why. Listen, I couldn't agree more. I do think we need to have a bit of a tougher culture here. We seem to have lost the will to work almost. But at the same time,
but can I just tell you, constructively, what successive governments could have done was given older people more support to stay in the workforce. I know many people that would have preferred to keep going as teachers or keep going as nurses or keep going in professions, and they were just told the mandatory retirement age was X and they had to go.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have done that.
We should be raising the retirement age.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know what?
Absolutely.
I think that I hate the idea of that, because I think if we start that now, by the time I get to retire, I'm going to be 93.
Well, you will be.
touching my coffin as I get my first check, and
that's
then
still,
we won't want to give you that.
That's still 80 years away.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, let's just move on just a little bit here, because there's a story that caught my eye. It's not in the front pages here, but Labour is developing an artificial intelligence to predict parliamentary rebellions. This is how bad it is for their party. They're having to turn to AI, a computer model, to analyse MPs' past voting to determine the likely troublemakers after recent revolts. Paul, as your party, first of all, they've gone completely nuts. But secondly, is it that bad that Keir Starmer needs data to tell him? Because he doesn't speak to his backbenchers anyway, does he?
I could tell you don't need AI to know who the troublemakers are in the parliamentary Labour Party. I could name them all now. They don't need a computer.
Who was the MP who this week decided to get a bot to answer his constituents' problems?
I'll find out after the break. But funny, when they asked her the question about the price of milk,
he didn't know the answer.
Well,
I tried to join just to find out how easy it was, and it was quite difficult to do. Actually.
What, to find out price of milk, or to find the AI?
No, just to get alongside this particular MP. But at the end of the day, I think I had this discussion earlier in the week on air, and I think that, the fact is, the reality is that a lot of MPs' work can be done with artificial intelligence. That's the truth.
Or artificial stupidity.
MP Mark Seward, as you call the
That's it.
AI
That's
MP.
him. Yeah. But people do want to think they're actually dealing with a living and breathing human being.
Well, I think they do, but more and more often, I think I might even prefer to deal with AI, to be quite frank with you. Talking of AI, I mean, many people might say that Keir Starmer's a little bit robotic, isn't he? It's just all part of the programme.
I don't think Keir Starmer would pass the tests for human life that AI can pass. I don't think Keir Starmer can even recognise squares with a traffic light in them. I think AI, the trouble with AI at the moment is it kind of sounds really plausible, but it makes a lot of stuff up. So it says things quite convincingly that are just nonsense. It hallucinates, it just concocts facts and stuff. So really, it's the ideal replacement for a politician.
No difference from a government. There we go. Right, coming up. Talking of lots of techie things, I'll tell you why Elon Musk could expand his business empire in the UK. Well, this has been Leo Tonight, late edition. Stay with us.
Hello there and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. So the main story is just how high temperatures are going to get over the next few days, particularly in the south, but we will have a bit of rain in the north at times, and it's all courtesy of this just wiggling weather front that's going to just brush the far north of the UK over the next 24 hours or so. But then look at those shades of red envelop the UK, so turning much hotter by Monday and Tuesday. Back to Saturday evening though, and most of the cloud is melting away, so it's going to turn into a dry night for most. Clear skies as well, so some patchy mist and fog perhaps developing in the countryside in the most prone rural spots, and maybe getting down into the mid-single figures. Also, so a little bit chilly for some of us first thing on Sunday morning. But across the north of Scotland, the showers will continue. It won't be quite as breezy as it was on Saturday, but there'll still be a few around on Sunday morning, mainly across the Northern Isles, so Shetland seeing the odd heavier one, a few drifting into the west coast of Scotland as well, but most of these lighter than they would have been overnight. Some sunshine first thing for Northern Ireland, eastern Scotland, many parts of northern England and Wales, dry and sunny as well. Any mist quickly disappearing, and then temperatures really rising pretty quickly in that strong August sunshine. So a beautiful, sunny and very warm day to come for many parts of Wales, England And particularly eastern Scotland, here we won't have quite the breeze that we saw on Saturday, so feeling quite a bit warmer and temperatures into the low 20s potentially here. Quite a bit more in the way of cloud though developing across Northern Ireland through the afternoons and patchy rain as well by the evening. But as I say, temperatures above average for the time of year and highs of 28 Celsius in the southeast of England. That rain across Northern Ireland spreads to other parts of Scotland by Monday, so quite a damp picture across many northern parts of the UK through the day. Some rain off and on, heaviest and most persistent in northwest Scotland. Otherwise, though, further south, look at all this blue sky and sunshine. So some high-level cloud perhaps, but temperatures into the low 30s and perhaps even into the mid-30s very locally through Tuesday and perhaps Wednesday. So some hot weather on the way.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Our favourite of the channel, Ed Miliband, is under pressure to scrutinise a £500 million deal for Shell to sell 5% of Britain's North Sea gas production to Viaro Energy. The startup is run by Francesco Mazzagatti, who faces fraud allegations, which of course he denies. Some warn the sale risks putting key energy assets in questionable hands as major oil firms retreat from the North Sea under higher taxes and Labour's drilling ban. Shell says it's proceeding with the sale after regulatory approval, aiming to complete by year end. Well, of course, back with my panel, Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards, Leo Curse. Leo, oil, drill, baby, drillers. Trump has told us to do. It's just going to happen when Ed's playing his ukulele in the energy department, is it?
Yeah, and Labour are taxing the North Sea oil industry out of existence. If you look at Harbour Energy as just one example, so they're an Aberdeen-based oil company. They drill all around the world, Indonesia, places like this. A huge British success story. They employ loads of highly skilled people. They made a profit of over $1 billion last year, but after tax, after all the extra windfall taxes and everything else was laid on, they made a loss.
What?
They paid.
That's nuts.
They paid an effective tax rate of 108%. On their profits, which is just insanity. So they've had to fire people. They're definitely viable as a business. But how can they continue? How can they continue to make acquisitions and invest in drilling and invest in the oil and infrastructure that we desperately need in this country, so we're not dependent on importing oil from Russia or Qatar or wherever else gives us hydrocarbons?
Can I ask you while we're talking about this? Because I lived in Aberdeen for a little while, and it is the lifeblood of, part of the Scottish economy. I mean, it's a big part of the Scottish economy. And
yeah, it's the biggest thing after heroin.
Of course, it goes through our political system and the money gets distributed elsewhere through the... Anyway, does this not make a strong case for independence, perhaps? Would a pragmatic... Listen, I'm a unionist. It's very clear. Let me make a I'm a unionist and I campaigned for the union, right? I campaigned up there for it and I got a lot of abuse from you, Scott, telling me to get a taxi home. But if a pragmatic SNP government came... Let's say a pragmatic...
That's the thing. You're going to get one of those. No, this is the thing. I mean, it is actually an interesting point because people think that after independence, Scotland would remain in the SNP's hands. It wouldn't within an electoral cycle or two. It would go over to a pragmatic, quite conservative Scottish government. I think
you're right.
And then I think they would drop. I think Scotland would become this tiger economy. Or I guess we can't be tiger. We'd have to be a
unicorn,
jaguar.
Right? Unicorn. That's your
unicorn.
That's your national animal.
No idea why.
Unicorn for oil. Linda?
Well, I think that Scotland, maybe it should pursue this avenue. I don't know, Leo. What do you think? Can you see that happening?
I don't know. I always thought independence was a terrible idea. I still do think it is a terrible idea because Scots were so
How many years
entwined.
do you think it would take for that to come round again, in the current circumstances?
I mean, I don't know. I think Britain as a whole is facing a catastrophe where we're not going to be able to sustain the levels of borrowing. The government's facing some pretty hard choices. It doesn't seem to want to cut any public spending, but it's facing an absolute. It's going to come off a cliff. It's already come off a cliff. The legs are still going.
Respond to that.
So then I think, when we have this calamitous, we default, it's back to the 70s and public services have to be slashed and everything, we have to be bailed out by the IMF. Then I think Scotland can make the case that they can go it alone.
I don't want to see Scotland lead, but Paul, very briefly, tell me what you think.
I think the great tragedy of this is that Mrs Thatcher, when all the oil revenues were flowing in the late 70s and 80s, squandered all that money. Norway put it into a sovereign wealth fund instead, and they've got a much higher standard of living as a result. On this story, though, Ed Miliband needs to call this in, I think. And
or maybe Keir Starmer needs to call Ed Miliband out. I don't know. I've got a feeling his days may be numbered as the government are seeing the stark reality of our economy, which is just flat-lining, isn't it? We're heading towards stagflation, we're heading towards an unemployment crisis, we're heading towards a recession. I think the government's going to have to reverse some of that net zero nonsense. But anyway, we're going to do some more of this after the break, including what's being dubbed as the Ibiza final boss. Have you heard? I've never heard of an Ibiza final boss before, Leo.
I have been told.
But actually, do you know what? But tell you what. Let's just talk about this Elon Musk gig first, all right? Because I did promise you we'd do it before the next break. And Elon Musk's Tesla is set to take on Britain's energy giants. We're talking about energy, and they're applying for a license to sell electricity to households. The new service, Tesla Electric, could launch next year, linking with the company cars and home batteries to cut bills. OK, let's talk about this because, listen, I welcome people like Elon Musk entering the UK market. These are great jobs. Hopefully it's a good news for lowering energy bills as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people think of Tesla as a car company. Really, it's a data company and an energy storage company. I mean, the batteries that they make, you can use your Tesla car to power your home, and then and also the energy can flow back into the grid from your car. You can use solar panels and whatever to generate power for your home. So I think the way we think about energy is going to get back to the roots. When we first had electricity, it was generated in your own home by a little engine before we had a national grid. I think we're going to get back to those days.
Yeah, it could be true. Linda?
I think, we think of it as a car company because I suppose that's the optics of the whole thing. But I think right now Elon Musk has current problems that he has to deal with, very significant problems he has to deal with.
His baby
with the actual car company.
Right.
So we're a way off this.
Listen, they seem to be bouncing back. But anyway, let's move on to something a little bit lighter, shall we? So I'd be the final boss, that's what he's been dubbed. He's gone viral. He's due to earn six-figure sum from his newfound fame. His name's Jack Kay, the Ibiza final boss. He went famous overnight for his look, really, his look. And kids online, Paul, are saying that, he's been flown around in a private jet. He's getting six figures. What's going on?
I think he's actually now the richest man from Newcastle, isn't he?
I think Newcastle only has something to say about that, but yeah, look at him.
I can't work out what he's done.
Just look at the hair. It's the hair. Nothing's happened. Kids love this kind of stuff because, they get to make a meme out of it. And because of the haircut and the build and the dancing, I think he's just like...
He doesn't look that unusual, does he?
I think the hair's a little bit unusual, if you ask me. I don't know, what do you think? It's a bold choice, isn't it, Leo?
I think outside Newcastle he looks quite unusual. And this, I don't know, this is the sort of man I can see leading Albion back into war. This is the sort of man who defeated the troops at Agincourt. This is, honestly, this is the man who's going to save... This and that guy who says Bosch, they're the people who are going to save UK.
That's not a hat, is it?
No, it's not. That's his hair. That's his hair, Linda. apparently he has a bald spot at the back of it as well, which is just even more iconic.
Comb forward. What are the guys called?
I don't know what that is.
Comb forward.
It sort of reminds me of one of those monks you'd see from the medieval time with the bald spot at the top.
Teeth, though. The turkey
teeth, the chains. But you know what? I will say this: as much as I wouldn't wear that outfit and that sort of look myself.
Really?
Yeah, you never know. Maybe he'll see me next weekend. But just good, well played to him. I mean, he's going to make a lot of money. He's just an average kid. He got caught up in a move. Well played to him. Anyway, moving on. Coming up, we'll bring you some huge breaking news, loads of breaking news tonight on the war in Ukraine. But if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for your top European destinations. You might even meet the final boss there.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
The European heatwave is set to continue. Lots of strong sunshine across Europe. Many temperatures just pushing into the low to mid-40s. This in particular across inland areas of Spain. Even parts of France are going to be pushing into the low 40s over the next few days. And eastern Mediterranean, we're widely going to see temperatures in the mid-40s. So the sunshine is set to be intense, and it's going to be continuing over the next few days, along with the hot temperatures.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. I've got a double whammy of breaking news for you. In the last few moments, the Prime Minister has released a joint statement with President Macron, Prime Minister Meloni and Ursula von der Leyen and a couple of other European leaders backing Donald Trump's work to end the war in Ukraine. GB News has also heard the Trump administration is set to invite the Ukrainian president to Alaska in what would be a famous meeting between Zelensky and the Russian leader Vladimir Putin. I am now joined by US political commentator Lee Cohen. Lee, thank you so much for joining me on this double whammy of breaking news. Success for Donald Trump. He's won over the coalition of the willing, so to speak, here in Europe. But he's also got Zelensky potentially going over to Alaska to meet with Vladimir Putin. This is a massive win for Donald Trump, isn't it?
Well, you know, Alex, Trump prides himself on winning, and it appears that all of the pieces are falling into place for this. Next week's meeting between Trump and Putin in Alaska isn't about politics as usual. It's about stopping the needless killing and bringing this conflict to an end quickly and saving lives on both sides. For too long, Europe has relied on America instead of its own strength. It's become impotent and globally insignificant, and now the West is paying the price. As Trump negotiates directly with Putin to stop the war, your Keir Starmer struggles even to hold his own nation together. But if Starmer can't lead, at least with the breaking news you've just given me, it seems that it appears that he may support Trump's bold efforts.
Yeah, do you think maybe there's a little bit of a change, at least with Trump and Zelensky sort of being on the same side now? That's probably quite a welcome change, and it's with the tariffs slapped onto India, indirectly attacking Russia. Do you think Trump has now made all of the right moves in the right direction that's positioned himself as the sort of kingmaker, so to speak, in this what will be, I suspect, a peace, at least an attempt at a peace deal between Zelensky and Putin? Can he now play all the cards on the table?
Well, can he? Only time will tell, Alex. But Trump is a deal maker, and this summit is an opportunity for a formerly weakened America to reassert global leadership under Trump's jurisdiction and to seek a negotiated end to the Ukraine war.
Yeah.
This is the kind of bold, decisive diplomacy missing from the previous administration, the Biden administration, and other nations.
Lee, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but we're arriving towards the end of our show now, but let's come back on again and talk about this. Thank you, everyone, for joining me tonight. Thank you for the panel. We will see you all tomorrow. Have a good morning, evening.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. So the main story is just how high temperatures are going to get over the next few days, particularly in the south, but we will have a bit of rain in the north at times, and it's all courtesy of this just wiggling weather front that's going to just brush the far north of the UK over the next 24 hours or so. But then look at those shades of red envelop the UK, so turning much hotter by Monday and Tuesday. Back to Saturday evening though, and most of the cloud is melting away, so it's going to turn into a dry night for most. Clear skies as well, so some patchy mist and fog perhaps developing in the countryside in the most prone rural spots, and maybe getting down into the mid-single figures also, so a little bit chilly for some of us first thing on Sunday morning. But across the north of Scotland, the showers will continue. It won't be quite as breezy as it was on Saturday, but there'll still be a few around on Sunday morning, mainly across the Northern Isles, so Shetland seeing the odd heavier one, a few drifting into the west coast of Scotland as well, but most of these lighter than they would have been overnight. Some sunshine first thing for Northern Ireland, eastern Scotland, many parts of northern England and Wales, dry and sunny as well. Any mist quickly disappearing, and then temperatures really rising pretty quickly in that strong August sunshine. So a beautiful, sunny and very warm day to come for many parts of Wales, England, and particularly eastern Scotland. Here we won't have quite the breeze that we saw on Saturday, so feeling quite a bit warmer, and temperatures into the low 20s potentially here. Quite a bit more in the way of cloud though developing across Northern Ireland through the afternoon, some patchy rain as well by the evening. But as I say, temperatures above average for the time of year, and highs of 28 Celsius in the southeast of England. That rain across Northern Ireland spreads to other parts of Scotland by Monday, so quite a damp picture across many northern parts of the UK through the day. Some rain off and on, heaviest and most persistent in northwest Scotland. Otherwise, though, further south, look at all this blue sky and sunshine. So some high-level cloud perhaps, but temperatures into the low 30s and perhaps even into the mid-30s very locally through Tuesday and perhaps Wednesday. So some hot weather on the way.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. Trust me, last weekend we doubled Sky News and BBC News combined. What about that, hey? What a show, that was fantastic. Lovely to hear. Renee is back as well, and of course the gang are all here for the first time. I'm Alex Armstrong, along with Will Kingston, Dr. Renee Hunterkamp, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
we need to talk about far-left violence, Alex.
The police aren't policing, so vigilantes will.
And children as young as 5 are being asked to write Valentine cards to illegal migrants.
And I feel sorry for Rachel Reeves. And welcome to the party. Reform goes woke.
And it is 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5, everybody. Of course, as you know, I love getting your comments out on air on this show. We do more than everybody else on any other GB News TV show. I tell you that every week, and you know it's true because we will read them out in Ask the 5. gbnews.com/you'll say, and while you're there, put in an Ask the 5 request because we will be reading them out at 8 o'clock. No topics are off limits. Just keep it safe for television, you know. And I want you to vote, as you do every week, on the poll for our Saturday scrap. Today we're asking, should sexuality be private? That's following Nicola Sturgeon saying that sexual relationships should be private after she refused to give details of her sexuality. And both Rachel Reeves and Kemi Badenoch have a pop at Liz Truss despite the state of the economy. We're asking whether Liz Truss was right about her financial agenda. And Should you feel guilty about being British? Well, that comes as civil servants host a seminar on British guilt. Vote for that, gbnews.com/poll. We want to know what you want us to debate on. But before we start tearing each other apart, it's just Saturday Night News with Katie Bowen.
Alex, thank you and good evening. The headlines at 6:02. Police say they've now made 200 arrests as a large group of protesters in support of Palestine Action gathered in Parliament Square. Organisers say between 600 and 700 people are attending in support of the proscribed group. Earlier, the Home Office said that the prescription of Palestine Action is not about Palestine, nor does it affect the freedom to protest on Palestinian rights. A separate Palestine Coalition march took place in London, where police say they made one arrest. The Metropolitan Police said it has drawn officers in from other forces to help form a significant policing presence. Protests outside hotels housing asylum seekers have been taking place across the country, with a heavy police presence separating protesters and counter-protesters. 3,000 riot officers were deployed across England and Wales, with hotspots including Norwich, Nuneaton, Canary Wharf and Islington. Stand Up to Racism called on its supporters to hold, quote, Stop the Far Right demonstrations in 10 towns and cities. It comes after 2 people were arrested in Canary Wharf and 2 were arrested in Epping, following similar protests last night. A total of 435 small boat migrants crossed the English Channel today, taking the number of arrivals this year to more than 26,000. The Dover lifeboat arrived into Dover Harbour just before 4:30, with the final group of 56 migrants who managed to reach UK waters this afternoon in difficult conditions. It takes the number of migrants who've made the illegal crossing since the UK-France return deal came into operation this week to 838. According to GBNews provisional figures, the total number of arrivals for the year so far now stands at 26,274. That compares to 17,638 who arrived at the same point last year. A meeting between national security advisers from Europe, Ukraine and the United States is taking place today, with David Lammy and JD Vance hosting. That's as Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today. The Ukrainian leader has refuted President Trump's claim that a ceasefire deal between Ukraine and Russia would involve swapping territories. President Zelensky said his country will not give up their land to occupiers, after President Trump confirmed last night that he will meet with Putin in Alaska next Friday. He added that he wanted the meeting with Putin to take place sooner, but security arrangements were restrictive. A Kremlin source said that Alaska was a logical location. And firefighters are currently responding to a large and fast-moving wildfire in Dorset, with the public being warned to stay away. Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue say the fire broke out on Holt Heath, north of Wimborne, at 11 o'clock this morning. Firefighters from 7 Dorset stations and 5 Hampshire stations are currently trying to stop the fire from spreading. Roads in the area are reportedly blocked and authorities are warning people not to approach. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Alex.
It's Saturday night, and of course you're with the Saturday 5. Over the next 3 hours, the biggest debates, hottest topics and entertaining interviews. We'll be talking to the former chairman of the Conservative Muslim Forum on those accusations that Lisa Nandy is prioritising Islam over other religions as she appoints the boss of a Muslim charity as an advisor to a new civil society project. But no one from Christian, Jewish or other specific faiths. Anyway, before we get cracking on with tonight's show, how is it nice to have the panel back together?
It's good.
Take a moment to enjoy the fact that all of us are here for the first time in what feels like months.
Dream team.
How was your weekend off, Renee?
My weekend off was gorgeous, as you know. I was in Corfu. It took me 14 hours to get there, thanks to British Airways. But other than that, it was great.
I had a good time in Corfu. It's lovely, lovely.
Oh, it's insanely good.
Will, how's your week been? Anything exciting happened to you?
Up and down, Alex.
Up and down specifically. What happened when you were down? Let's just get onto that for 1 second.
I tripped over a homeless person, Alex. Now I'm pretty hard line on homelessness, but I promise this wasn't a political statement. I was on my mobile phone on Regent Street wandering along, and I have unfortunately tripped over a homeless
You
person.
were very lucky that a mobile phone stayed in your
Yeah, that is right. Well, I looked at those wonderful new purple lines, from Mr. Khan.
Oh, so you walked too close to the walls instead of the road?
Yeah. So I was moving. This is the problem with this city. I was trying to avoid the people stealing my phone, so I had to move a bit this way, and then obviously I tripped over my
people. Yeah, somebody else's fault.
Stepping on the homeless. Typical migrant. Trey, how was your week?
It's been good, obviously. Fatherhood duties obviously dominates most of it, but I had a really great podcast this week, actually. In fact, it was yesterday, which was absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic. Was it as good as being on this show?
Nothing's as good as being on this show.
Of course it is. Britain's #1 TV channel as well. The one news channel, shall I say. Kai, what about you?
Yeah, I actually bumped into one of our avid viewers, Akushla, and her mum shopping the Zara sale. But I have to apologise because I promised them that I would wear a top, and it's not this one. So I managed to
you
get
have a
pastels
top
all
that
over.
is worse than that one.
Okay.
Wow.
Terrible.
I'll get you back.
There's a slight fashion trend with the lefties, isn't there?
Try my best.
Yeah, okay. Well, fair enough. OK, well, I'm going to kick us off because this is quite a serious topic and it's left me relatively infuriated having read it this week. Children as young as 5 years old are being told to write Valentine's Day cards to illegal migrants and asylum seekers, scribbling heart-shaped notes saying, "You are welcome here," in Labour-run Birmingham. This is the work of Schools of Sanctuary network spanning 1,200 schools across the UK, turning classrooms into activist hubs. But that's not it, because it gets worse. Some schools are holding special refugee days with asylum seekers giving talks to young kids who are then directed to craft the welcome messages. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has nailed this. Labour's turning classrooms into propaganda hubs. I couldn't agree more. But meanwhile, we've seen far too many cases of child rape and sexual abuse cases linked to illegal migrants for this surely to be deemed acceptable. Well, Birmingham Council's ducked any blame, saying it's a national scheme by the City of Sanctuary network, which they joined in 2015, boasting about migrants as the cultural capital. Well, the Sanctuary folks call it a kind act of welcoming. Some of you might nod along to this, though. Some of you might say this is a nice thing to do. But picture this. Your 5-year-old writing a Valentine's Day card meant for secret crushes and secret loves, by the way. That's how we know what a Valentine's Day card is in this country. To someone from a culture where 12 years old is seen as old enough for consent. Think of a human rights lawyer who will potentially twist that into a defence for an illegal migrant claiming they're confused about our laws. Wake up, people. This is a slippery slope. This is not compassion. It is ideology. It is weaponising children in their classrooms. Leave them to learn, not to push your politics. And just on this topic, I want to thank Charlotte Gill. She's an independent journalist. She has been working very, very hard on this story. Will, I will start with you. What do you make of this story? It was of course, in the national news today and reported by Charlotte Gill over the course of the week.
Yeah, and then nicked by the Telegraph, I noted. Alex, this is just gross. There's no other word for it. It is gross. I think it's gross getting 5-year-olds to send Valentine's cards full stop.